Everybody, it's Natalie with Treasures of Mini, and this is the card that we are going to be making today using a stamp set by Fawn called Hang In There. Now I went ahead and stamped the sloth and the leaves on some full adhesive post-it note, and then I fussy cut them out and arranged them on a piece of Strathmore Bristol cardstock. And I cut that cardstock out with a Sizzix die by Stephanie Bernard. And now you will see that I have taken some of the new Distress Oxide inks, and this one is Cracked Pistachio. And I'm not really rubbing in circles. I'm more pressing and rolling because I don't want to pull up my masks with the Cracked Pistachio anyway. Now I'm coming in with some faded blue jeans. And you see those circle marks it's making right there? This is what I love most about the Oxide inks. Look how easy I'm able to get those lines right out. So with this faded blue jeans, I'm going to keep going around. And as you can see right here, I've picked up my Cracked Pistachio. And you see how I'm using the very corner of this just to push outwards and towards the faded blue jean? That's going to help me get a better gradation and blend between the two. And I'm going to continue to do that process several times, going back and forth to all of the colors. So now I'm coming in with Broken China, and I'm going to put Broken China on the rest of the white of the card, going all the way around. I want it to kind of look like a spotlight, like the little slots in a spotlight, and it slowly gets darker the further out from the sloth you go. So now that I've done the Broken China, I'm going to come back again with the faded blue jeans. I'm going to use a lighter touch this time, and using the side of my blending tool like I showed you before, I'm going to push the faded blue jean into the Broken China, and then I'm going to pick up the Cracked Pistachio and push that into the faded blue jean. Oh boy, this is a tongue twister. Now, with a little bit of Wilted Violet, I'm going to do a little more of the edge, not quite as much. I still want you to be able to see the Broken China, but I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to work my way back down. Broken China, faded blue jean, and a little bit of Cracked Pistachio, and back out. If you use a lighter touch each time, you will get a beautiful blend. Now with this beautiful ink that I have on my craft mat, I'm going to wet it, and with some scrap photo paper, I'm going to pick it up and then set it aside and let it dry. We're going to use that later, so make sure you do that. Now, this is what turned out so pretty, and I was quite surprised. I have some ice spruce, and I'm going to just do the very edges, and it makes almost a metallic silver look to it. You'll be able to see that in just a second when I pick it up. It's so, so pretty. I was really excited about that accident. Okay, so with a little bit of water, I'm going to drop some big drops and some small drops on. I'm going to let it sit for just a second and then pick it up with my rag. And now we can reveal where we're going to do our stamping. So I wanted to make sure that I get this stamped exactly perfect. So using my Mini Misty and some transparency, I stamped the sloth onto the transparency and then slide my card base under it, getting it lined up perfectly, then removing it, putting a magnet down to make sure it doesn't move, and stamping with some Versamark ink. Now the stamp set came with some little leaves, and I have the coordinating die, so I cut out the leaves and then stamped the stamps over them. We're going to set those aside, and we're going to use those later. But I noticed that I didn't get my stamp exactly perfect, so with a blending stump, I'm going to coat the end of it with the Cracked Pistachio, and then I'm going to try to fill in this white space. So now we're going to get ready to do some watercoloring with our Zig Real Color Clean markers. And you'll notice at the bottom I have the numbers of the markers that I used in order that I used them, lightest to darkest. And we're going to do a little watercoloring. So you'll see right here I am actually using a water brush to blend out the lightest color. And I'm going to change because although I do like the water brushes for when I'm out at the beach or the park, I really don't like them that much if I have another option, because I don't feel like I have enough control with my water. So I do change to a silver, the silver black velvet brushes, and I think I'm using either a 4 or a 6. Now I'm going to lay down my middle color of the two, and each time I'm laying down a little bit less because I want the bottom part of my sloth to be the darkest. I'm imagining that my light source is coming kind of from the top right. So I'm just going to continue to blend that and work on where I want my darkest to lightest. I always say that I've done enough of these and that I should just fast forward through this part, but I remember when I was first learning how to use a certain product, I really liked this part of the videos. It really helped me learn how. So even though I have sped it up a lot, I did want to kind of give some direction. Now, in a second, you're going to see me picking pigment up off of my craft mat, and it's the same zig. I just felt like some of these spaces were too small to kind of go in with my brush, so I'm just picking it up from the craft mat. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I've laid down the darkest color now, and I'm going to bring in just a little bit more of a shadow. But in just a second, you're going to see right here with a damp brush, I almost looked like I was picking up color, and that's because I was. If you have a clean damp brush, you can pick up color to make more highlights. In just a second, well, right here, you're going to see I'm kind of like scrumbling what's left on my craft mat with a damp brush, and I find that that helps give a look of like fur, so I really like to do that. Now with this lightest gray, I am going to do his face, and right here I forgot that I didn't see that he had a little paw right there, so I just went back in and colored that in. So now we're going to work on the tree trunk, and I'm just following the same process that I have been following. So while you watch me do that, I'm going to let you guys know that at the end of this video, I am going to have an update with some pictures from my surgery that I had in April. I did go to the doctor yesterday, and I do have some good news. But after I say my hugs and loves and bye, if you don't want to see those, go ahead and stop watching at that point. So now that we have our little tree trunk done, you will see up there I started to stamp one of the leaves, and then I decided that I wanted to die cut leaves. So just to keep this white space from really standing out, I'm taking a green zig and just coloring that in. Now, this is also a Stephanie Bernard's die cut. It's by Sizzix, and I cut out the little sloth, and I have a top folded card, and this is the way that I'm going to arrange it. I'm going to glue the back piece down, but with some dimensionals, I want to pop the little sloth up. But before we do that, I do want to add our little leaves. So some of them I'm gluing straight down, and others two of them I'm actually going to pop up on some little slivers of Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. I just kind of cut little pieces to where it will fit behind it. Also, I think you might hear that in the background, and I do apologize. My daughter just woke up and is getting ready for work, and that's the dryer going. But anyway, so I'm going to finish arranging my leaves the way that I want them. This one I popped up, but the one underneath I didn't. It's just to kind of give it some dimension. This last one I am going to glue straight down, and I actually kind of lift the one that I popped up just a little bit to kind of like, get it to go behind it. So now I'm gluing the base that we made, or the panel that we made, to our card base with some Tombow Mono. And then the way that I want to put this on here is with some foam tape. So I'm going to go ahead and put foam tape on the back of it. But before I glue it down, I decided I wanted to go around the outer edge with a black marker. I think this is just a off-brand black marker. I don't even know who it's by. But I went on and popped that up, which was a mistake. You will see in a minute that I have to take that up. So this is the photo paper scrap piece that we did, and I've cut it down to 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to fishtail the end of it. You can see that I decided that I wanted it to go behind the sloth piece, so I just very carefully peeled that up on one side, and then with some Tombow, I glued down that piece. Then I had two washi tapes, a glitter one and another one, and I decided I wanted to make those flags too, but I didn't want to just put them straight down onto the card. So I love doing this idea. I just take the washi tape that I want, and on a scrap piece of paper, I put it down and then trim it up and fishtail it. I made this one too wide because I wanted it to be a little bit wider. Each one of my little flags is a different height and different width. And I just play with them, and when I decide that I have them the way I want them, I glue them down with some Tombow. So you'll see I'm doing that right here. I love using this idea with washi tape. It gives you a little bit thickness, it makes it a little bit thicker and gives you a little more dimension. So with some twine, I made a bow. I'm not gluing it down yet. I think that's where I want it. But it's time for me to go ahead and try to glue or try to stick back down the side that I had to pull up. So with some 3D dimensional like dots, I'm just going to kind of wiggle them in back there. Now I want to stamp my sentiment, and I did cut the sentiment apart. In the stamp set, it's a long straight line, and I need to be able to arrange it differently. I don't mind cutting my stamps, but if you do, then don't do it, by all means. I am using some cat eye white pigment ink, and it is old and it doesn't stamp good, and that is fine because I'm actually just using it kind of as an outline. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go ahead and take some multi-matte medium and glue down my sequins and a little bit of glossy accents to glue down my bow. And I also use some glossy accents all over my little leaves, his little nose, and his cute little eyes. And then I am going to go back in with my white gel pen. This is why it didn't matter that my white pigment ink wasn't that great. I do not have very pretty handwriting at all, and I liked the handwriting of the stamp, but I'm just going to go back over it with a white gel pen. You will notice at the pictures in the end, it does not look this bright and vibrant, and that is because I went over it with glossy accents, and that was a mistake. I think the glossy accents like soaked up the pigment, and it messed it up. So for a last little touch, I'm going to use a little bit of Wink of Stella and go over my cute little sloth. And that is our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really had a lot of fun with this card, and I loved using the oxide inks on this card. Anyway, remember you can also find me on Facebook at Treasures of Mini Craft Corner. And I would love for you to share with me the cards that you make. Please give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe, and click on the little bell so you'll get notifications of when I make more cards. Until next time, hugs and loves from my craft room to yours. Stop the video here if you don't want to see surgery pictures. Bye. Okay, this is just a diagram of the concept of how they took the bone out with the artery in my leg. I had my surgery on April 4th, about 3 months ago. This is the x-ray right after surgery. You can see that where they took my fibula out along with the artery, and then on the other side they drilled out my femoral head, and you can kind of faintly see a diagonal line in my hip. That is where they inserted the fibula and connected the blood supply. This is a day after surgery. I haven't even been able to see my own scars yet. I was still in the hospital. This is, I think, about a week and a half afterwards. I am at home. I didn't get a picture of my hip here. This is just my leg. And this picture was actually taken today. This is my leg. Yesterday, the doctor did say that I can start walking for 5 minutes at a time around the house without crutches or anything. This is the scar on my hip taken today. And I do still have a little pain, but I'm getting better and better every day. Hugs and loves, guys. Bye.